Up next, I'm joined by Garett Macdonald. And Garett, it's great to have you back on. I hope everybody's seen our site visit video that we put together for Maritime Resources. I got a chance to visit last October, I think it was. It was October, and the company just started clearing trees. Lots happening. Garett, looking forward to a development update.
Well, thanks everybody, and thank you, Guy, for hosting this. It's a pleasure to be here and give an update on Maritime Resources and our project's progress at the moment. So we've been very busy over the last little while. This is actually a good screen to look at here. This is our main project in Newfoundland and Labrador. This is the Hammerdown Gold Project here, you can see in the background, and the town of Kings Point just over here. Go through some cautionary statements, so please have a look at those on our website. Okay, so overall with Maritime Resources, this is the company in a nutshell. Our focus is in Newfoundland and Labrador, so we're a gold development and exploration company. Our main assets are located on the main island up here, just in the Baver mining district. So we're very close to the town of Springdale and Kings Point. About an hour drive east of Deer Lake, so it's very easy to get to. This is a mining district that we're working in. So there are a couple of operating mines up here to the north, skilled labor available, infrastructure, everything that you would need to develop a new operation. So our main asset is called Hammerdown. It's a brownfields development project. So this was a former high-grade mine, and I'll tell you about that in a second. So our job, I guess, as Maritime, or our focus is we want to bring this mine back to life. So we've been working over the last couple of years on getting everything ready for a restart of the Hammerdown project. So a lot of environmental work, working with the community, a lot of technical studies and diamond drilling to really bring this, hopefully bring this mine back to life. We did a PEA study back in 2020. It looked at a restart scenario involving a small open pit going underground afterwards. Came up with a very attractive project, around 50 to 70,000 ounces per year. The economics look very good, around 150 million NPV and a 65% IRR, $1,500 per ounce. So with that completed, we then invested more money in diamond drilling and further exploration. We also picked up a gold circuit that was in the area. It was the same gold circuit that processed ore from Hammerdown in the past, and it was sitting there available. We acquired that in 2021. We've been very busy on the environment and permitting side as well. We've actually got the project through the environmental assessment, so it's been released from the EA, which is a big step for any project. And we're now working on the feasibility study, after which the remaining permitting would take place, which is essentially your closure plan. So that's the development project that we're very busy with, but we're also busy with the exploration. And we're in the middle of a 40,000 meter drill program. It's the biggest program the company's ever completed. There's a lot of potential around the area. We've got a very large 400 square kilometer land package, but we see a lot of opportunity near the mine as well. And I'll talk about that in a second. We're sitting with about 4 million in working capital right now. So we're in good shape. Few slides here on Hammerdown. So this is a view like the last one, looking at the area that we cleared that Kai mentioned. You can see the old settling ponds here. There's the small little pit that they started with years ago, and just on the north side is the portal. So the idea here would be to restart Hammerdown with an open pit before going underground to pick up the remaining veins. So when this mine was running, it was running back in the old days of $300 gold back in the early 2000s. And when they were operating this mine, it was a company called Richmont, who everybody should know. They ran this mine with a cutoff grade of over 8 grams per ton. So, which is amazing to see in these days. Cutoff grade now, of course, would be much less. Gold recoveries at the Nugget Pond Mill were over 95%. So it was a very nice project back in the day, but I don't think they'd have spent a lot of time exploring in the area for other veins nearby. So that's our mission that we're presently looking at right now.
Garett, I got to jump in real quick. Your microphone is rubbing against your shirt a little bit. So if you could just hold it just an inch away, or move it, perfect. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so on the PEA study, quick snapshot here of what it looks like. As I mentioned, 50 to 70,000 ounces per year was the target. And this is a good project to get started with for a small company. So we think this is, something that we can do. You can see the profile over here over the years, 50 to 70,000 ounces. initial capital of around 57 million. The real driver of the value for this project comes from the core of the Hammerdown deposit right here. So this is a view looking at the open pit, showing the number of veins that we have here. This is probably over 100 different veins in a small area, right in the core of the Hammerdown mine. So red would be measured, yellow indicated, blue inferred throughout here. So this would start off as a small pit, getting into the high grade first. This is where the capital gets paid back. And then as the pit goes down, we finish off probably a couple hundred meters below surface. And then there's a ramp system that already exists that we can use to access the remaining veins below the pit. Okay, this will be a quick look at what the site plan would be. We're really fortunate to have infrastructure here that we do have. This is a highway and the power line are right over here, very close to the project. The access road is already in place into the mine. This is the Hammerdown deposit here and the Orion deposit over to the south. You're looking kind of west here. So this is about 2 kilometers away to the south. So the overall concept here of this site plan would be to have both deposits each have a pit and an underground component. They would be mined basically in parallel, and they would feed a central crushing and sorting plant located here. This is only about 600 meters away from the power line, so which is fantastic. So what would happen here is the ore would come in, we would do an ore sorting process. The test work that we've done, which is pretty extensive, shows that the XRT sorting, which basically X-rays would be used to separate dilution from the mineralized material. Because these veins are fairly narrow, we definitely expect to take some dilution along with the mining process to get them. This process here, the sorting, will keep a good portion of that dilution here on site. We have about 130 kilometer haul to get up to the mine, or to the mill. And the more dilution we can keep at the site, the better. Certainly big cost savings for us here, and also big greenhouse gas reduction as well. So that's the site plan. Once the sorted ore gets up to the mill, this is the Nugget Pond Gold Plant. This is the facility here. So this is Rambler's copper concentrator that they're using right now. The gold plant is here on the left. So basically what we would do is refurbish the interior equipment inside this gold plant. This is the leaching circuit. We would add a small grinding circuit to the other side of this building and basically decouple the gold plant away from the copper concentrator, sharing the permitted tailings facility that's over here. So it's a great asset. It's got a history of high gold recoveries on a number of deposits, including Hammerdown. And yeah, this seemed to be a great idea to pick this up, which we did. And now we're in the process of doing some engineering on this as part of the feasibility study to include it into our design. Okay, we'll shift over to exploration just for a few minutes. As I mentioned, there's a lot of potential here. It's really amazing when I keep looking at it. The amount of land we have is about 400 square kilometers, and we have kind of 3 main areas that we're looking at. The one that you're looking at here in this image, this is the Green Bay area. So this hosts our 2 deposits, which are Hammerdown here and Orion over here to the south. They're separated by about 1.3, 1.5 kilometers in here. But you notice though that we're right on the very edge of a big structure that comes through here. It's called the Green Bay Fault. And on the other side of the fault is another exploration project we have called Whisker Valley. We also have another project called Gull Ridge, which is a little further to the south. But what we're seeing here at Orion and Hammerdown and the general Green Bay area is about a 10 kilometer long trend that has numerous gold and VMS targets, structurally folded. You'll see here in a second, I'll show you. And on the other side over in Whisker Valley, we still see the same kind of thing. There's veins similar to Hammerdown that are showing up. But we're also picking up more porphyry material over here as well. And to the south with Gull Ridge, very much a brand new greenfields project over here. It's different though. It's a big gabbro intrusion with nickel, copper, and PGMs. So our focus, and kind of in this order, is right here around Hammerdown and Orion first, Whisker Valley second, and over here at Gull Ridge third. Okay, so closer to home, right here around the Hammerdown deposit, you can see there's Hammerdown. This is Orion, and this is the big Green Bay Fault that runs right along the edge of the deposits. So this is that 10-kilometer trend that I was telling you about. It comes right here, all the way past Hammerdown and Orion. Oops. And then it kind of turns up to the north and back down to the south. This is the area that we're going to be focused on this year, right through here. So we have a number of targets. We just announced, I think last week, that we're going to be starting the drill program. It starts on Monday. And we're going to focus right in between here, between Hammerdown and Orion first. And then there's a couple of extra targets that could extend Hammerdown up here to the northeast. And it's really important to know that although people have drilled here before and there's been an active mine in the past right here at Hammerdown, very little exploration has ever taken place throughout here. I would say it's been prospected, but never really explored. So we did all this geophysical work and the soils and the trenching, some good basic exploration work, and determined that there's a big potential system here. It just needs to be drilled. So our focus is here first to see if we can add resources to the mine plan that's coming up with Hammerdown and add some extra value to the economics. Okay, so you mentioned, or you remember I mentioned the Green Bay Fault. On the other side of the fault is Whisker Valley. So this is a greenfield project, no history of mining over here in the past. But over the past couple of years, our teams have picked up this new system over 1.5 kilometers right in Whisker Valley. It's called the Gary Vein System. And through trenching and through diamond drilling and prospecting, we've identified this 1.5 kilometer long trend with a number of high-grade veins and samples and drill holes, both on surface here and down even to 150 meters. We're showing a very high-grade new zone. Now it's early days. We don't have a resource on this one yet, but that's hopefully coming here in the next couple of years. But as you can see, fantastic grades. There's a little more base metals over here as well. And right on the other side of this gold pit outcrop is where we see a lot of the porphyry material coming through. So we're right on the edge of something. It's pretty exciting. It's brand new. And it's also a lot closer to our Nugget Pond mill than Hammerdown and Orion. So if we do get something pulled together here that's actually mineable, then it would be much closer to the mill. Okay, one last thing to mention, strategic assets. Although we're focused in Newfoundland and Labrador, we did pick up a couple of other projects through the transaction last year for Nugget Pond. One of them is in Quebec in Rouyn-Noranda called Lac-Pelletier. It's right very close to the Cadillac Fault here to the south. You can see our neighbors here, Yamana to the west. We're right in the heart of the Abitibi district, which is a great location to be in. There's over 3,000 meters of underground development on the project. There's a resource of around 190,000 ounces at about 8.5 grams. That's a historic resource done in 2010. We're in the process of updating that now, probably another month or two away from releasing that. And then on the other little bit west of Ontario is Manitoba. This is the Snow Lake VMS camp. And we actually have a property up here that was included in the deal. And it's about 1,100 hectares right beside Hudbay Stall Lake Mill. And it contains a former high-grade mine called the Rod Mine. That was a small underground mine, but very good grade, over 9% copper equivalent. So these are assets that we're going to look to, we think, can add value to the company for sure. We're not changing our focus from Newfoundland, but these are assets that we're quietly working on in the background to see if we can add value to Maritime. Now, last slide here just shows you our capital structure, analyst coverage from Sprott and Industrial Alliance, and our major shareholders. We're over half institutionally owned. Our largest shareholders, Dundee Goodman, Merchant Partners, at about 19.9%. So that's it, Kai. Hopefully that gives you a good overview of where Maritime is right now.
It does, Garett. Fantastic. Great overview. And we have a question in the chat. I'm going to jump right to it because it's about inflation, obviously, and the PEA versus feasibility study. Do you see any impact? $57 million in 2020. What do you think it's going to be in 2022? What is driving cost? What will change? What is not driving costs? Maybe you can elaborate just for a second on that.
Yeah, sure. Inflation is definitely hitting all projects across the country. We're a little bit different in that we have a brownfields development at Hammerdown. We're starting with an open pit where the veins are at surface already. We have very little earthworks and overburden in front of us. The sorting plant that we're looking at building is very modular, so there's not a lot of earthworks or concrete work there. At the mill site is probably where we might see some cost creep. ball mills and steel erection in that area. So I think there's some trade-offs that we're looking at doing to try to keep that capital cost in line with where we were in the last study. So, but yeah, fuel prices definitely have gone up over time. You've seen that. So that's something we can't get around. Every project has to deal with that. But gold prices are also up, so I think we're in good shape that way. So I think we're hopefully end up pretty close to where we were last time.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, that sounds great. And timeline feasibility study, just to maybe repeat it, are we still on track for that?
Yeah, feasibility study that we're working on right now. So we're collecting all of our mine plans, and that's coming in through now. Capital costs are being estimated, and we are at the mercy of some of the assay labs out there now. Turnaround times on those have crept up over the last few months. So yeah, we're hoping to get something out here in the next few weeks, Kai. End of Q1, early Q2, I think is probably our timeline.
Yeah, time flies anyway, so it feels like tomorrow anyway. So, yeah, fantastic. Garett, thank you so much for joining us. Really, really appreciate it.